What if the world had the same energy for the cultural producers of the Black community as it does the cultural products? Maybe you've heard the saying, they want our rhythm, but they don't want our blues. Artistically speaking, our rhythm expressions has become separated from the reality of our blues. But what does that mean for the Black community, though? What is a world where we can imagine us not only being commodities, but being able to tell our stories? The only question is, how are you positioned when it comes to access, resources, and opportunities, not only in art, but in real life? From an Afrofuturist perspective, reimagining ownership can be a powerful tool for Black liberation. By owning and controlling our own resources and the means of production, we can better dictate our realities outside of exploitation and histories that hold us back. Today, we're gonna be exploring some of the most impeccable Black people and how they occupy space and find art, and get to them and how they explore and reimagine, how they able to use their artistic expressions to be able to imagine a better future for Black people.
9, 8, 7, 6.
I've gathered 3 out here today because y'all are revered and respected in the art community. Khalil Kinsey, collector, owner. AJ Girard, amazing curator, you know. We got Storm, Ascher, painter, sculptor, founder of Superposition Gallery. And I believe y'all have the cultural competency and the expertise to answer some pressing questions. I'm a first-generation college student. My mother is someone that is currently looking at incarceration and that's battling drug addiction. Why should I care about art?
For me, it's been mostly about finding myself through the art and connecting with others that are trying to connect with more people in the Black community. To me, it's all about legacy when it comes to the gallery. The aspect of, oh, my children will know about Black art and be able to connect to this, even though I wasn't able to access that first. It's like I'm trying to be the person that I wanted to look up to. As a gallerist, it's more to me about the legacy and longevity of like what communities get to access this work, and Black-owned museums, Black trustees, Black collectors, people that are really thinking about those future generations.
When you remove art from the context of finance and you strip it down to a human outlet, a means of escape, therapy, interpretation, that's why art and where art becomes critical. You know, they say that art is a way of making the invisible visible. When you think about it from the lens of the Black experience, you then realize that these are also ways in which we tell our stories. It's how we harness that power visually, and it's how we give ourselves beauty and grace.
Right.
You know what I mean? Which we all need and we all deserve.
I want my work to explore what it's like to be feminine and to be a Black woman from the interior. But it's not as simple as Black women are cute, look at our big froze, look at our fat asses. Being Black ain't monolithic.
In terms of mood, when I look at your art, I see that there's a common color theme of orange and red. Is that intentional?
Red is always the nucleus. I think the bloodline that we share is the reason that we can do so many spectacular things unique to us as a culture. It's the reason why my titles that are so specific and equally intentional, you as a Black person, you already know what the piece is about. You can already catch the attitude.
Give me an example.
One of my pieces called Woo Child, in parentheses, enough. I wanted to really explore how that exhale and the inhale of having enough as a Black woman in this life here, that's something we've got plenty of, enough.
As collectors, founders of art, who do y'all say gets to dictate the value of art now, and moving forward, how do Black people have more control over that value?
I feel like we already have that control. Like, I think this idea of the outside validation is so antiquated.
The first thing is showing up. It's scary for all of us, you know what I mean? Like, it was scary for me when I first went into gallery space, and I think about artists that we've worked with together, and like Jewel Ham and all these other artists who are like, they're getting their reparations in their canvas. And it's a fun job for me as a curator to sit around and learn the Black experience from a whole other vantage point than mine, you know? Like, we're similar, but we're not similar.
I just always go back to the myth of absence. We talk about it like contemporary art is the only thing that black folks been, you know what I mean, like now we're here. What we're about is bringing all of these people from our history into view to inform and for we can locate ourselves right now and then imagine what that means for the future. People might say, oh, collect art, you work in art, whatever it may be, and they think that's some high society shit.
But most folks think it is some high society shit, though. I mean, when I walked outside and I see a Nipsey Hussle picture, I'm thinking, and I really believe in the liberation power of Afrofuturism. How do I make this person really understand and feel like art and Afrofuturism is a means of liberation and being able to survive?
No, it gives me the chills because as a fellow Southerner, it's like the first decision that I can think about, like, what is Afrofuturism, is like, we about to get off this porch. What's the first step gonna look like? Where are we going? We don't have nothing, but we're gonna do something. We're not gonna stay here. So many artists that you can find, bro, that are actually answering some of the questions that we are asking and will continue to ask. Should I stay here or should I move? Should I let this happen to me or should I change something about it? I think there are artists over time, black artists, who've asked that question. Maybe it's through music, maybe it's like a rapper or or a singer or whatever. The way we've been kind of given permission to make the soundtrack to America, but we haven't been given permission to make the visual aesthetic. So I think about this too. Sometimes Afrofuturism is like, it's not always like in the front. There's some play of like, I'm protecting myself, I'm hiding so that I can like, so we can play the long game. I'm just trying to make it like safe for you to feel like you, the person who is just starting to want to do this, is actually extremely necessary. Like, we need you.
So let's be real. In a world where black people are in constant danger, how do you use imagination to cultivate safe spaces in your art?
I think reality is this space that is abstract. Like whether it be the spaces that we find our bodies in, like grandmother's kitchen, that's safe, right? But there's other spaces that our body and our psyche addresses that are not safe. Like maybe sometimes the educational system does not feel safe. Maybe the neighborhood that you're traversing through does not feel safe. So you're not really met with nurturing love and then also having things kind of blocked off where you can actually do the thing. Being a black person in America, I think it's very abstract. I think living in the world is very abstract and very intangible. To make paintings that speak to the intangibility or the ambiguity of life, I think is more so real in abstraction. Abstraction is a vehicle for liberation for the person making it, and maybe the person seeing it too, because there's something about liking something that goes beyond anything other than the fact that that's a sheer judgment that has hit like a mark. And so essentially what I see from New York City is an entropy written on the walls. The question of identity so much is not about the external factors that make up that thing, but maybe my focus is on all the filters that make up my experience. How do I see and process the world? How do I see and exist in the world rather than my skin and the things that make up myself?
My children will know about black art.
We've always been futuristic. America wanted slavery in perpetuity, right? We are a people who were the first to figure out astronomy, right? That later equates the Dogon society, Dogon tribe. That later equates to Benjamin Banneker, right? Whose grandfather was from the Dogon tribe, to then create the best-selling almanac of his time in this country.
Yeah. That's why it's hard to not smile when we have these conversations.
You feel me,
because
right?
there's so
Exactly.
much to be excited about.
Think about this from all of these lenses. There's so much to be activated by, right? Because then you like, oh, we've been on that. And I'm a big proponent of it's better to know that this ain't new than it is to think we always on some new stuff. Because it's more power in understanding we got people behind us, pushing us forward.
You know, I think for me, I like the idea of subversion. And like with art, you know, and because we have been excluded or it is this very niche space, I like taking stuff like the do-rag or like palm oil or sneakers or stuff that's super casual to me. Like, I think putting them in that space turns them into art, but like realistically, you know, it's like Black aesthetic and like culture that is valued. And I mean, you see that even in how people covet the word nigga, you know, it's like an exclusive word that's really only Black people can say, and like it's become the most controversial word in history, and it's in hip hop. And I mean, I've seen like two white guys fighting each other, calling each other nigga, and it's like, I don't know, there's something about owning something that's Black, regardless of what it is, that I think has value. My parents also made art, but they weren't like professional artists, so this was a thing they did almost as a hobby, you know, on the weekends. And I think being able to approach it in that way, I didn't put so much pressure on it. But when I think of like abstract art or contemporary art or just making art, for me, it's like the experience of trying to understand the physical world or like understand these objects. I think putting them in that space turns them into art. I think the act of like bringing something from one space and putting it in another kind of changes its significance, it changes its context. I'm really interested rather in that displacement and the idea of like what happens when I bring this thing here. Making art is just like an easy way to live in a very hard world, you know.
How can we use ownership as a vehicle for liberation?
Right now we are in and I'm talking a lot, but we're in a moment, quote unquote, around Black art. And they talking about it like it's a moment, you know what I mean? And if we leave it in the hands of a larger system, it will be just that.
Right.
If we understand it, we need to get behind it. We need to put our dollars towards it, right? Supporting an artist's journey. And we need to kind of look at things based off of, if we're gonna go buy that chain, or we gonna go buy that piece of art, gonna buy that car, we gonna buy that piece of art, right?
Yeah, I feel like collecting, even if you're not seen as a collector, is so important. Keep it 100 with the people that put you on.
Yeah, I'm a big proponent of like the art education angle, you know, especially within Black art education. I wish we took more value in that. All day, every day, it's your life effort, or don't even try to do it.
To be a Black artist that survives and thrives off of their artwork, that is a new concept. Black art history makers, they are seen thriving today. Half of them are dead and gone. Yeah. This is a new reality. It's something that we are still figuring out. I will say personally, when it comes to ownership of my artwork, I have made some mistakes. And I think I have certainly fallen prey to selling the works for too low, too fast, and to the wrong hands. But ultimately, at the end of the day, that does not stop me, and that does not stint what I'm doing with my work, because in that same vein, I'll sell the prints. And what am I gonna sell the prints for? The low. Cause why? They for my niggas. I don't care. Yeah. So often I think people are caught up in wanting to be famous in household names, and I think that's cool, don't get me wrong. I too aspire to be a real housewife. However, there are ways and there are ways, you know? And the path that I am on and that I'm trying to move forward on with my work is I want the people that are in the pieces to be able to hold the pieces, share the pieces, know about the pieces. And in order to do that, it's gotta be on Instagram. It's gotta be printable. It's got to be in their homes, because ultimately, what are we really doing it for? Even the people, you know, accessibility is really the core to liberation for us.
I mean, I think there's a priority on having Black people own it so that when I'm long and gone, like, they can be the people that hold the narrative, because it's those who have the art that have the narrative of the culture. And you have art from West Africa that's in Europe right now, and those are the people that are educating the world on like these artifacts. And I think that like that is a goal as an artist, but I think also it's my goal to educate people that may not know what the material is, and to re-educate them so that they're not necessarily thinking of negative things when they think of a do-rag, you know, and they can kind of understand it in a more contemporary way.
This is actually, you know, about protection. It's about protecting our culture and protecting the people that make it. And that's the value really right there, because then you're not gonna give it away in the same way, you know, because you're gonna know that it means something. And you're gonna have felt that it meant, you know, what it means to you. And that's the key.
I think that people being able to understand how value, ownership, reimagining in regards to art is one that we continue to work on. And what we do right now is gonna impact the future we go in, you know what I'm saying? And being able to imagine ourselves outside of the limits. I think that the reason why I wanted to do this particular project is recognizing how anti-Blackness, and how I define anti-Blackness, is the opposition to possibility. So when I understand how anti-Blackness operates with Blackness, it is always in opposition to that infinite possibility. And to me, that's how I would understand Afro-pessimism, is how can I explode the infinite possibilities of who I can be, how I'm constantly becoming. Y'all were able to really make it where we understand how art infuses how we be, how art defines how we become. And I just really appreciate y'all for being a little vulnerable.
Afrofuturism is just being free. All right, so you made your move.
I made my move. Make your next move your best move.
All right. Ooh, I'm about to I won't go too crazy. I'll play aggressively though too.
Play aggressively then. I'm trying to learn.
You know, bring the queen out, you feel?
Damn, I ain't never seen nobody bring it out that quickly.
You know, that was the, you know. Sometimes she like to get her hands dirty, you know. Oh, you should have taken me.
Where? How?
Right here. She's crazy, bro.
Oh,
Check.
Okay. Well, I'll be damned.
You can take it though.
How? Like with this? It's like
No. Those can only move.
You said like an L?
Diagonally.
Those diagonal?
But you have to. So right now you're in check. You have to take her. That's the only move you can really make.
But how, like this, like?
Yeah, because you can move in any direction with the king.
Oh, okay.
I just sacrificed the queen because like I like playing wild, you know, and crazy.
but like wild and crazy, like strategic.
It's not really. I don't think it's. I don't read any of this. I just like
taking
playing,
risks.
yeah, and see how it go. I don't think people are prepared for that sometimes when I'm playing them. Because there's a way to play chess where you're really like using certain strategies and like you stick to it, and it gives you the best chance. But I've just always mixed it up, you know. I just know how the pieces move, and I'm like, all right, let's have fun.